Pregame.com.
I'm Vegas Runner, here with Scott Spreitzer, breaking down Sunday NBA action. This one's a primetime game. Miami Heat at the New York Knicks. Last week I came in and had the Knicks as the best bet. They got it done on primetime. Going to come right back with the Knicks again. Scotty made his line 3.5, expecting the books to send Miami out as a road favorite. I agree with that. Unfortunately, I don't get 11 to 10, so I have to create a true line, what line I think it's going to, what the power rating suggests. And I'll tell you the truth, I made this a pick'em. Reason being, and I know a lot of people are thinking right now, is this guy crazy? A pick'em, Miami Heat against New York Knicks? I'll tell you why. This game's in New York. And if you look at Miami, they may be 40-16 overall. I personally think they win the NBA Finals. They hoist the trophy this year.
Sure.
But they're 16-12 on the road. That's 57% straight up winning.
Right.
You look at the Knicks, they're 19-10 at home. They win 66% of their home games. That's a huge home court edge when you look at their whole season record. When a team's 30-28 overall, but 19-10 at home, that reflects a huge home court advantage. Same with Miami. They're 40-16, and yet they're 16-12 on the road. So it tells me this team's a monster at home. I got to adjust. Huge home court advantage. And what people fail to realize is if you have a team that's, 10-10 on the season, let's say, and they're 3-2 at home and 3-2 on the road, that's not much of a home field advantage. The home court. There's no difference there. I look for, when I create my home court power ratings, I look for what's the discrepancy, what's the difference, how does this team play at home compared to when they're on the road. And for me, this is nothing bigger than the Knicks when they're playing at home. Had them last week. I'm going to take them here again.
It's good stuff that you're saying. And also, if you want to take it one step further about Miami's road woes, so to speak, I kind of talked about this the other day doing a show with Marco. And if you look at their last 8 road games against teams that are either in the playoffs or fighting to be in the playoffs, which the Knicks, of course, are, Miami's 1-7 straight up and against the spread against those 8 teams on the road. And, the bottom line is I had mentioned the other day, they're role players. This is going in, by the way, to Thursday night's game against Chicago. They're 1-7 in those games. If you look at their so-called role players, which for Miami is anybody other than Bosh, Wade, and James, in those 8 games, those other guys were 89 of 255. That's less than 35% shooting. And the worst shooting team in the NBA, the Charlotte Bobcats, about 41%, which shows how poorly guys not named James Wade and Bosh are doing.
They got the worst bench, one of the worst benches in the NBA.
And it's better than last year, which is scary, but it's still bad. But so you have to factor that into the mix. So it's not a real good road team. Now, neither team is playing a real busy schedule right now, relatively speaking, with this condensed NBA schedule. Miami's playing 5 of 6 with a day off between games. 5 of the last 6, I should say, they've had a day off between games in those 5 outings. And New York will have played Thursday and then, or I should say they will have had Thursday and Saturday off while playing on Friday and then this game on Sunday. So neither team, if I could speak English, is really right now in a tough situation schedule-wise. You can throw that out. Now, Miami won both meetings, as you know, earlier this season, and they blew them off the floor a couple of times.
Both.
Well, they actually came up short on the second game. They won 99-89.
It was minus 12, and they won by 11.
Exactly. And then in the first game, they won 102-88. What New York has to do is find a way to be able to shoot the ball better than those 2 games. They shot at 39% and 35% in those 2 games. And Jeremy Lin was part of the second game. It was right during the Jeremy Lin craze.
Everyone was 100%. Both teams were.
Miami comes in and they completely shut down Jeremy Lin. He goes 1 for 11. The first game they met in January, Jeremy Lin wasn't a part of it, and Miami was able to shut him down also. But again, it's a different situation. Those were at South Beach. This is at MSG, and New York's a completely different animal at home. And I'm just going to end it like this. I'll go on record right now saying that if Amari Stoudemire came back in this game, I'd be on the Miami Heat.
I agree. I agree.
They're just so messy when Stoudemire and Carmelo are on the floor together. And by the way, it looks like he's probably going to come back this coming Wednesday. But the thing is like when Jeremy Lin was healthy and was playing well, Carmelo comes back, Amari's healthy, and they're supposed to run that pick and roll through kind of Tyson Chandler and Jeremy Lin. And I was saying on the show way back then is that, man, when he comes back, if he can accept that role of dishing the ball, let Jeremy Lin and Chandler do a little pick and roll, and then he can be a feeder, man. He can be outside, and he can be moving to get open without the ball, and then catch that ball and hit threes and hit from inside the arc. He can still score 20 a night, and they're going to be a better team for it. Carmelo doesn't have that in him to be a better team player. So right now, without Amari, I agree with you. I think the Knicks plus the points are the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Miami, and I don't think they're going to catch the Bulls. But they still have a lot to play for because of the fact they're right there with the Western Conference team. So knowing if they get past the Bulls, they're going to want home court advantage in the finals. So here's a team that does have a lot to play for, but I agree with you. They haven't looked their best of late. And I think the odds makers have done a good job with them for a team that's 40-16. They're less than 500 against the spread. I think they would have liked a little better results than that because they're only 2 games under 500 ATS, and they attract money every night. But this being a primetime game, and the Knicks without Stoudemire, without Lin, even Jeffries is banged up right now, and he's a big role player when those guys are out. I think we're going to get a really inflated price here. And I just, once again, think the value's with the New York Knicks at home. And last week I said it, Novak's going to hit the 3 to win the game and cover. Instead, it wasn't Novak. It was Carmelo hits the 3, get it to overtime. But I'm going to go back to Novak. I don't know why. I love that kid. I just, he hits a 3 and he celebrates like it's the best thing in the world.
It's awesome.
He's fist pumping his way back down the court. How do you not love him? It excites the crowd. That's number one. You get him in there, he hits a 3, the place goes nuts. So I'm going to have to go with the Knicks here. Knicks. One more time. And last week, overtime killed that under. If Carmelo don't hit that 3, game stays under. I like this under too. I think it's going to be an ugly game, which Knicks love. They'll love nothing more than an ugly game. And they match up pretty good. Where I'm going to go with the Knicks is the best bet. Lean to the under as well. Let's see what the total comes out at. My true line, 193. I think it comes out a little higher than that. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, the last thing I was going to mention is that, you know, when they lost those 2 games, it was D'Antoni's coaching. And I'm not a D'Antoni detractor. I'm not his biggest fan, but I don't think he's the reason the Knicks were struggling so bad. But the point is, under Woodson, it's an intense.
They're playing defense. They're playing defense,
and so they can hold Miami down a little bit more in check. They get up 99 in one game and 102 in the other. I think you're going to see, like you just said, an uglier type of game.
All of a sudden, this team is 12th in points allowed in the NBA, 10th in field goal percentage allowed. That's a top 10 team defensively.
Different defensive basketball
I love it.
Than I love it. When Miami saw them earlier.
Before we go, want to pass along one thing. If you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead and check out FanDuel.com. FANDUEL. This week there's a contest going on Friday. Fantasy baseball, 1 day only. $500 given away for free. Get to show me what you got. I'm in it. I think I'm going to take home the money, so maybe you don't want to waste your time. But with that said, it's like a video game. I should have never went to that site because I'm not a fantasy guy. I'll be honest with you. I was never a fantasy guy, but I've learned it's helped me with my handicapping and vice versa because now I know who's injured. I know the rotations. And what I like to do is I like to handicap the game and then based on my result, go and look for players that I think I'm going to do well or not do well. But anyway, check that out. Make sure you check out the free contest. I'm on there as Vegas Runner. Promo pregame. They're going to hook it up.